511 here on KSSU.com on a Tuesday. What's going on, everybody? I'm Nick Koeneke. Welcome to the Koeneke Hour here on the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. A 2-hour program talking everything in sports, a passionate, heated, incomparable, and at times a very inconsistent discussion about everything in the sports world. To all my friends and family down south, back east, and up in Sacramento in the south, thanks for tuning into the program. Once again, I'm Nick Koeneke. You can follow me on Twitter at the Koeneke Hour. Koeneke spelled Koeneke. Also follow my podcast at the Keep Calm and Stay Offended podcast. What's going on, everybody, on a Tuesday? Got a big day in sports today with Game 1 of the World Series, as I informed you on the sports update to start the show. So I hope you're tuning into that, but also hope you're tuning into the program right now. Going to have a shorter show today just so I can get home and watch Game 1 of the World Series. I hope that it's a good series. I hope that it's a long series so I can catch more games, but won't be able to catch the first part of Game 1 between the Dodgers and Red Sox. Going to get into that later. Got NFL talk like usual. Got the Koeneke Rant of the Week. Stop it right now. Got a jam-packed show in a very short amount of time here on a Tuesday. It is October 23rd, 2018. The weather's shifting a little bit. It's getting a little colder up here in Sacramento, a little chillier today as I had to put on a jacket. But welcome to the program. Again, I'm Nick Koeneke. Calling to the program if you'd like, 916-278-3666 to join the conversation. Let me know what you're thinking about. We're going to talk NFL, MLB, a little basketball, and got two guests put into about an hour and 10 minute program today. As like I said, it's Game 1 of the World Series between the Dodgers and Red Sox. But let's start the show like we always do, like I always do, and that's the Koeneke Rant of the Week. If you're new to the program, my last name's Koeneke. I like ranting about stuff, and I like complaining about things. That's what I do. In the Koeneke Rant of the Week, the topic of this rant has to do with something that I experienced over the weekend. It was homecoming here on Sacramento State, or at Sacramento State, as they lost to North Dakota. Absolutely got killed, as Sac State has lost now 4 in a row. But that's not the main story. I'm not going to talk about that. But because it was homecoming, hung out with some friends, had a couple adult beverages, was having a good time. Went to the game, enjoyed most of the game, didn't stay for the whole thing, couldn't take it anymore as they believe they lost by 3 touchdowns. After the game, I was like, hey, let's go out, let's go grab a pop, let's go downtown, let's go to Midtown here in Sacramento, kind of the bar scene up here in Northern California. I was like, hey, let's go grab a pop. And my friends are like, all right, yeah, sure, why not? We go out, my friend drives, we get there, we stand in line, okay? I'm all ready to go, I already had a couple in me, I'm like, woo, get money, right? Get to the bar, next thing you know, the guy checks my ID, like normal procedure. He's checking the ID, checking my face, all that things. Everything checks out. I get into the bar, another security guard stops me. He doesn't stop other people, but he stops me. And he's like, excuse me, sir, I can't allow you in. And I go, why? And he goes, there's a $5 cover charge tonight. Let me ask people out there, why do bars keep charging cover charges? Why do they keep implementing those? So the guy's like, he put his hand in my chest. He's like, sir, you can't come in. I'm like, oh, can I just at least go to the bathroom? Because I really got to go to the bathroom. He's like, no, it'll be $5. And I'm like, I'm going to be here like 30 to 45 minutes. I just want one, enjoy some live music, and that's it. Can I do that? And he's like, no, $5. And I'm like, I was here last weekend. Why wasn't it $5 last weekend? He's like, I don't know, sir. You $5, you got to get out. I'm getting real sick of cover charges. I'm getting real sick of paying for them. I'm getting real sick of bars making me pay for them. For all the money that bars make on a weekend, right? And all the, jacked up alcohol prices they have on the weekends, added on to the $5, $10 cover charge just to get into the bar, I'm getting real sick of it. And if you're an adult like me, who's at that age when you're allowed to have an adult beverage, and you show up to a bar where you're just like, I just want one, they're like, no, you know what we're going to do? We're going to charge you double for your drink, but also we're going to charge you just to get into the bar. You know the amount of ego you have to have as a bar to implement cover charges? It's like, oh, we're so great that we're going to make you pay just to get into our building. I think it's the biggest garbage. Obviously, it's smart business. Obviously. It totally makes sense. But I'm getting real sick of it. Because it's like that money's going to one of my drinks. And now that I got into the bar, now I don't have any money for drinks. All college students, most don't have much money. It's like, and you're just taking it from me. You're just taking it from nice people who just want to enjoy a nice evening out on a Saturday night. But no, you got to stop me at the door and be like, hey, $5. No, I'm going to leave. So I freaking left. I just left. So sick of it. I'm sure if you're an adult, you've had this experience where it's a cover charge. Like, I get, like, a club, for example, right? Going into a club, I totally understand that. Because, you know, there's a DJ and dancing and all that stuff. But when you just go to a bar on a random Saturday, it's not like it's a holiday. It's not like, you know, there's insane things going on. Yes, it's homecoming here in Sacramento, but I don't think that's big enough to charge me $5 to just get in the door as you're just shoving that money off your rich yacht. You know, just like, you know, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Just look at all these. And they know we're going to pay for it because, first of all, most people are under the influence by then. So, yeah, here's money. And then they know because, like, it's a good bar, so we want to get in there. They know we're going to pay it. It's genius, and I'm sick of it. That's the Koeneke Rant of the Week. 518 KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. I got to get the mic closer to me because I keep going in and out, as you could probably tell by the volume levels. Let's move on to some NFL talk, as we always do as the second segment of the program, Koeneke Rant of the Week. Impressions of Week 7 in the NFL. Steelers were off this week. They had a bye. Not going to talk much Steelers this week. Just going to talk about the bye week and how great it is. Let me start with that. How great it is. If you're an NFL fan out there, and if you're a fan of a team and you follow them every week, and you live and die by how well they do each and every season, you gotta love the bye week, right? I was talking with a friend, and he was saying, hey, you enjoying the bye week? I'm like, it's the freaking best. I love bye weeks. Because I'm not, like, pulling my hair out every play, yelling at the TV, throwing the remote, right? Not having a heart attack. Steelers bye week has to be the best week of the year. Because I could just sit down, I wake up, on Sundays, I always wake up at 9. That gives me an hour to prepare for the 10 a.m. kickoffs. Usually, in the 10 a.m., usually Steeler game, right? So the Steeler game. But this time, I get to, like, you know, sit down, relax, grab a coffee, watch the pregame shows, and not worry about what's going to happen on the field. And then I could just watch 3 or 4 games, depending on who's on. I can put on Red Zone if I want. I can put on, you know, split screen and watch 2 different games, 3 different games. Maybe watch division rivals. And you just get to enjoy a Sunday for once. As a Steelers fan, you can't enjoy a Sunday ever. Unless they, you know, shut out a team. They win 30-0. Like, that's enjoyable. But that never happens with the Steelers. The Steelers don't win and don't lose on the bye week. You know what that equals? That equals no stress, no heartburn, no high blood pressure, and just me being able to enjoy a Sunday. Much like when the NFL season isn't on, right? So during the spring and stuff like that, when it's baseball season, I can just sit down and enjoy a Sunday. Make a couple pancakes. You know, really just hone in and just watch. Instead of screaming my brains out and waking up my roommates. Because, you know, Steelers can't get a first down. And then, you know, when they do, referee throws a flag. You go, you gotta be kidding me! Right? I love the bye week. And I think all NFL fans can agree that the bye week's pretty great. All right, impressions of Week 7 in the NFL. I got to catch a couple games. Watched the Ravens-Saints game, that afternoon game here on the West Coast. I caught a couple games in the morning. I had a couple split screens on. Watched a little bit of that Eagles-Panthers game. Caught a little bit of that Browns game. it kind of just, there weren't great games on. There weren't great matchups. So it wasn't a great week of football, but this is three things that caught my eye during week 7. Starting with those Eagles that I just mentioned. What happened to the defending champs, right? What happened? Eagles now have a losing record. They lose at home when they have a 17-point lead against the Panthers when the Eagles were favored in Vegas anyways. You're thinking fourth quarter up 3 possessions. It's in the bag, right? Nope. Cam Newton scores on 3 straight possessions, 3 touchdowns to steal a victory on the road in Philly. But what happened to the defending champs, right? Now that the defending champs are struggling, that makes the NFC East look even worse. The NFC East is garbage, man. You got the Cowboys, who just show up, you don't know when they're going to show up. You got the Redskins, who are leading to the division, but, they're not a great team. They're not a good team. I mean, they might win the division, but chances of them winning a playoff game probably slim to none if you look at the team right now. Then you got the Eagles, who now have a losing record. And they're the defending champs. And then you got, who am I missing? Got the Cowboys, Redskins. Oh, the Giants. And then the Giants, they're in the cellar. Right? They lose on Monday night. And now they're 1-6, and everybody's questioning Eli, right? That's a crap division. But the Eagles, man, something's wrong with them. And what about the Saints winning on the road? Did anybody check out the afternoon game between the Saints and Ravens? That was a big game for me. And I only watched that. I didn't watch any other afternoon game. I just had that on. Big game for me. Obviously, because the Ravens are in the Steelers division, so I'm rooting for the Saints. And then second, I had the Saints winning on the road against Baltimore in my pool. It totally got it right. Gained a game this week. It was great. Oh, I felt great. Tucker missing just total shankopotamus extra point. First ever missed extra point in his career in over 200 attempts. Oh, they were just dancing. I just love it. I just can't get enough of it. I just can't get enough of the Ravens losing. And especially how they did. That was so funny. And the Saints are big. We're going to talk about it later. But the Saints, man, I really think they could be a Super Bowl caliber winning team. Not just getting there, not just getting in the championship game, but they look really good. And Sean Payton's really rallied his troops after, a very disappointing end to their season last year. So the Saints are for real. I think they've won 5 in a row now in 6 weeks because they've already had their bye. They haven't lost in a month. Over a month. They haven't lost in like 6 weeks. So the Saints go on the road and beat the Ravens. And because the Ravens lost, because the Bungles lost on primetime, and because the Brownies lost, the Steelers didn't even play. And guess what? They went from 3rd place to 1st place. You never see that. Oh, it's a great weekend. Not great games, not great matchups, but for the Steelers, it was a great weekend. And how about the LA Chargers? I want to bring them up just a little bit. They're just like a half game back of Kansas City, I believe. Check me on that. I know Chiefs are an animal, and you're probably thinking at home if you're tuning in, why is he bringing up the LA Chargers? That division's over. The Chiefs are really good, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying the division's over or not, but maybe look out for the LA Chargers in a wild card spot. Yes, they've beaten teams they should beat, but they have a winning record. And guess what? Chargers don't really ever have a winning record in the early months. It's September, October, November. Usually they got to build themselves back up after starting slow. This year they haven't necessarily done that. I believe they're 5-2 heading into week 8. So maybe that's a team maybe to look out for. I don't know. They always seem to kind of like choke it away. Not necessarily choke it away, but they seem to, not play up to expectations when they were in San Diego and now that they're in LA. But they go play in London. That's not an easy task being a West Coast team. And they beat the Tennessee Titans. Titans aren't a great team. They're not a good team. But you got to give them credit when you go across the pond. I don't care who you're playing. To win across the pond, it's always a tough task. And they did that. So maybe look out for the LA Chargers moving down towards the second half of the season. So those are my impressions. Kind of what I thought, what I saw, and what I took from Week 7. Eagles, in trouble, right? Saints, they might be a team. Winning that division. Maybe getting back to going to the championship game. Super Bowl, I don't know. Drew Brees, new record holder. Maybe. We'll see. Now LA Chargers. Just look out for them. We'll see what happens. They've beaten teams they should have 3 games above 500 as they head towards the second half of the season. This is the Koeneke Hour here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. 5:27 as we head into our first break here on the Koeneke Hour. Later in the program, we're going to talk a little World Series baseball as that game has been officially underway in Boston. Let me check the score real quick. It's the bottom of the first. Dodgers do not plate a run as it's 0-0 in the bottom of the first between the Dodgers and Red Sox. Going to talk with Nick Unge, good friend back home. Talk a little NFL. Talk about maybe some Raiders. Going to talk a little Dodgers. We'll see where it takes us. Once again, I got to fit all this content in a short period of time, and we'll see what we can get to as we head into the second half hour of the program. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick Koeneke. Follow my Twitter at the Koeneke Hour. Follow my podcast at the Keep Calm and Stay Offended podcast. As we continue some sports talk here on a Tuesday. How's everybody doing? This is kind of a part of the show where I don't have anything planned yet because I'm kind of waiting for a break. But Nick Unge will join me. We'll talk a little NFL. I'm going to ask him a few questions about maybe some sleeper teams he's disappointed in. We're going to talk about the Raiders. Did you hear about the Raiders in the news? Trading away Amari Cooper. Remember in the offseason, traded away Khalil Mack. Now the Raiders have 3 first-round draft picks. And it looks like John Gruden is setting up just to do a massive rebuild. And then recently in the news, especially today, is the storyline that maybe Derek Carr is losing his leadership and losing that locker room as a leader. Everybody saw the photos of him crying on the field. Is Derek Carr safe? Is he in the future plans for John Gruden and that Raider organization as they wrap up their time in Oakland and head to Las Vegas? We'll see. We'll maybe ask Nick Unge, depending on time, of what he thinks. As it is now 5:30 here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. Let's hit a break. We're going to Nick Unge will join us shortly as we will talk NFL. Going to talk a little Sacramento Kings basketball after that. Going to talk a little World Series like I mentioned. Going to get to my favorite segment, Stop It Right Now, as we head into our first break. You know what? I'm going to make a game time decision, and I'm going to fit in a segment that I was going to fit in later, but because of time, you know what? Actually, we'll hit a break. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. I've got midterms right now. You guys all know what I'm talking about. Midterms, so I'm kind of all over the place with everything going on. So, as you can tell, the show's going a little bit off the rails. Going to join Nick Unge is going to call in just a second. Let's hit a break. You're listening to the Koeneke Hour here on KSSU.com. 5:33 here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. An update from Boston as Andrew Benintendi goes yard and the Red Sox take a early 1-0 lead over the Dodgers as Clayton Kershaw is on the bump for LA. Let's shift towards a little NFL talk. We'll get back to the World Series and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on over in Boston as Game 1 of the World Series is officially underway as the Red Sox once again have plated their first run and taken early lead 1-0 over the Dodgers. Let's bring in Nick Unge. He's a good friend of mine. If you've been close to the show, you've heard him before. He comes on, talks a little NFL, and we'll talk some baseball as if time permits. But Nick will join me right now here on the Koeneke Hour. What's up, Nick?
Well, I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm good. You watching the game right now?
I just went upstairs. I saw Kershaw was back to choking, so I can stay away for a little bit.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with Nick, he tends to not think Clayton Kershaw is deserving of his $30 million contract. What is it, Inge?
I believe it's 30, yeah.
Okay. Let's shift to some football, Nick. A bit of a time crunch today, like I said, because I'm trying to get back for the later innings of that World Series. So let's dive right into the NFL. Let's talk about how the season's halfway through, right about, week 7, week 8. Halfway point of the season. Maybe some surprises that stand out to you. That's going to be my first question. And then maybe best story, biggest disappointment. What are you thinking about as we are officially halfway through the NFL season?
Well, the biggest surprise, it has to be Patty Mahomes in Kansas City, right? The guy's a maniac. Him and Reed in that offense, no one can stop him. If they get New England in KC in the playoffs, I think they'll be the team from the AFC going to the Super Bowl. Because I think right now, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think he's the second best quarterback behind Brady this year. I think he's playing better than Aaron Rodgers. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. Maybe if you asked me that question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I might be a little more hesitant to agree, but I think you have to agree with that. One point that you brought up is, say Kansas City gets a home game, right? That's a long ways away. There's a lot of football to be played. Home game against New England, Belichick. You're taking Kansas City even if Vegas is on New England?
Well, the problem is KC has choked year in and year out for like a decade now. But if KC's at home, I think I'd take KC over New England. I really would. They're insane. That offense is insane.
Side note, we're both betting men. What do you think that spread would be? If the season ended right now and they both played each other, you think that's like what, a 1 point going towards Kansas City? 1 point for Kansas City? You get automatic 3, but you got choking Kansas City in the playoffs, but you also have New England, who always wins. They always seem to be in the championship game. What do you think that spread might be?
New England would probably be a couple-point favorites just because of the respect.
Right.
They would probably be a couple-point favorites. But if the game's in Kansas City, I'm taking Kansas City. And I'm a Raiders fan. I hate Kansas City. But I think when they play the Raiders in a few weeks, I think they can literally put up 80 points per game against the Raiders.
And we'll get to the Raiders. We'll talk about maybe that they're cleaning house, officially starting the rebuild. We'll get to that, and we'll get Nick's point of view. So you say that the Chiefs are the biggest surprise. Are they the best story? Are they the best story in the NFL, or is there another team that you're looking at, or maybe another player that you're looking at? What's the best story in the NFL?
I got a player for a best story.
Go on.
Will that count for you?
Of course. Go ahead.
Adam Thielen, Minnesota Vikings. 100 yards every game. I think he got like a D2 scholarship. I don't know if he was invited to the Combine. His story is incredible, and people don't even think he's the best wide receiver on that team. They think Stephon Diggs is. But Thielen, I don't know, I think he made the Pro Bowl last year. He's going to make his second Pro Bowl in a row, and he's playing like a top 5 wide receiver. And another guy, you're going to like this, is James Conner. You know me, whenever we'd play Madden,
right,
I'd tell you to put out Bell because he's not really playing, and put in Connor thinking he stinks. But Connor's pretty damn good out there.
Yeah.
And Bell, his stock has plummeted because he keeps missing weeks, and Connor's keeps rising. And he's probably going to be the Steelers' running back for the future to come in the next few years. So I'd say Connor's the second best story.
Conner and Thielen. Red Sox take a 2-0 lead. And that game is still in the first inning, as it looks like Clayton Kershaw just doesn't have it right now, as there are still, I believe, no outs in the inning, as the Red Sox have a 2-0 advantage in that game. All right, Unj, I wanted to ask you, going forward and looking into the future, looking at hypotheticals, give me a team that maybe will surprise the league, surprise us, heading into the winter, in the later months, that you're thinking at maybe they can make a playoff run, or they're better than we thought. Who's a team that you think?
Well, I said this the week before the season started when I was last on, and I said the Houston Texans would surprise people and win that division. And they've won 4 games in a row. The running game's getting it together. Watson's getting it together. They got a good defensive squad, and that division is absolutely, with Jacksonville back to being Jacksonville, that division is very mediocre, one of the worst. So I think the Texans can definitely make the playoffs, maybe even win a playoff game, but definitely don't see them beating KC or New England.
But is that a surprise? Because it seems like, by your analysis and what you just said, is that that's a bad division. If the Texans do what they're supposed to do and play like they've played, where they've won 3 in a row, 4 in a row, whatever it is, that shouldn't necessarily be a surprise, right?
Well, do you mean surprised by when the season started or right now? Because that's when the season started, I meant.
No. What I mean is, who's a team that you think maybe in 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, a month and a half, who do you think people are going to be like, oh, we didn't see that coming?
Oof, that's a tough one, Koeneke. Carolina Panthers.
Why? Because they won in Philly last week?
No, because Cam Newton is finally being a high completion percentage quarterback, over 60-65%, something he's never done before outside of that MVP year, thanks to Norv Turner, his new offensive coordinator. And when people think of that division, everyone thinks of the Saints, as they should. But I think Carolina is a dark horse team, probably behind Saints and the Rams, to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I really like the Carolina. Plus, they got a good defense, and they finally have a good running game with McCaffrey. So I like Carolina. That would be my surprise team to really make a run at it of right now, because still no one's really talking about them.
Right. And they just won in Philly. I brought up that in my kind of impressions of last weekend's games. I want to stay in that division, because if you were listening to the program before we hit a break, I talked about how maybe the Saints, I don't know, maybe they can make a little run. What do you think of the Saints real quick?
Oh, I love the Saints. They're a great team. Great quarterback, great offensive-minded head coach, great running game with Ingram and Kamara back, one of the best wide receiver weapons in Thomas. And they have a defense who you saw last week against Baltimore can hold their own with former Raiders head coach Dennis Allen at the helm coaching up that defense. Plus, they have a good kicker. So I think they're the second best team in the NFC behind the Rams, who are basically the NFC's KC team.
Do you think maybe, like, if they played right now, if LA and New Orleans played right now, obviously, most people are taking the Rams, but could you see New Orleans like winning that game? Because I feel like the Rams, yes, they've played some good. They're undefeated, but they haven't really shown me that they can beat a really great team. And they just, I don't know. I'm iffy about them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't blame you. I remember we were talking last year, and you were iffy about them last year, and they lost to Atlanta at home in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
So I think they're definitely better this year, obviously, but I think the Saints can definitely beat them. I think the Saints are a top 5 team in the NFL for sure. I think they're the 4th best team in the NFL. So I think they could definitely beat them, even in LA, because the Rams will probably have the home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, they don't really. I mean, and that's the big thing, is looking at their schedule. They really don't play. They might have 1 or 2 games left on the slate, if I remember, where it's like, okay, well, maybe they could lose.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to talk about how teams can go, like, they can go undefeated. I don't know. I've been always iffy on that Rams team, and just I'm not big on youth, and I'm not big on inexperience. So that's maybe where the question comes up. AFC, NFC favorites. Let's start with the NFC. Obviously, it's the Rams. I would assume. Rams,
Saints, and Carolina. Those are my 3.
Okay, but if you had to pick,
if I had to pick. If I had to pick, I'd pick the Saints. I got to be honest. I love the Saints.
I mean, we were talking about it all Sunday, and I was talking about it early in the program. That little game, I mean, that little Shankopotamus towards the end, gaining a game.
My Tucker, a guy who never misses.
And then gaining a game in our little pool. I mean, and then Steelers getting first place. I was just going nuts over there. I mean, and I'm pretty sure, you missed, they scored a touchdown. Did you leave? Because I sent you a text saying he missed, and it took you a couple minutes to respond. I was thinking, oh, maybe he missed the shank. But, he comes up to kick. I'm thinking, Tucker gets ready, he kicks it, it's going straight. Next thing you know, it has a huge banana hook like my golf swing, and then I see the referee waving it off, and I literally screamed in my house, I go, he missed! And then my roommate downstairs, he goes, what happened? And I'm like, he missed! And he's like, well, you gotta explain to me. But that game was just... I mean, the Saints, they were. I mean, that's a great pick for us, but going down, I don't know, with Drew Brees and his record-breaking, good coach, got a good backfield, they might be a team to look at, don't you think?
Well, yeah, of course. Me and you, I remember we talked last year. We both loved them last year.
Right.
And if it wasn't for that fluke Minnesota, whatever that play was, that throw by Keenum to whoever caught it, they would have been going to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and if you think about it, they probably beat Philly. I mean, in my opinion, I think they'd go there and beat them. I know New Orleans doesn't necessarily play well on the road.
I agree with you. Yeah, they wouldn't.
In playoff games, and especially in cold weather, but that's another story for another time. Moving over the AFC, you got a favorite there besides the Chiefs? So don't be politically correct with me. Give me a team that maybe, obviously you got you got the Patriots, you got the Chiefs. Is there anybody else you're thinking about?
Well, if I can't say those two, yet again, it kills me to say it as a Raiders fan. The Chargers, man.
I brought them up too.
I think they're 5-2 now. They got a pretty good defense. They got a good backfield with Gordon and that new little guy, Eckler, who's basically Darren Sproles 2.0, obviously not as good.
Right.
They got another weapon in Tyrell Williams and Mike Williams to go alongside Keenan Allen. And Rivers is, I hate him. And you know that he doesn't really show up in big games or in the playoffs.
Right.
But I think they're probably... I mean, I hate to tell you this, Koeneke, as a diehard Steelers fan, but I think they're probably a better team than the Steelers, so I'd put them third.
Now, why is that? Because I brought up saying that might be a team to look out for, maybe a wild card spot, but they really haven't played anybody.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean,
they went to London. Yeah, that's tough. They lost at home to Kansas City. I mean, who did they beat? They went to Cleveland. That's not a necessarily easy task anymore because West Coast going to East Coast.
And they killed Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Cleveland's not a pushover anymore.
Right, and then they beat, San Francisco at home, I believe, and
demolished the Raiders. Yeah, they lost to KC, who they put up a ton of points versus.
Right.
And their second loss, I'm not sure who they lost to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I forget. But I think they're a pretty good team. I think if the Steelers have Bell, then I'll give the Steelers the advantage over the Chargers. But I saw today that Bell hasn't even reported, and he was supposed to after the bye.
I don't know who you think you are. I just don't get it.
Who, me?
I just don't get it. I mean, I went through, was going to be my first show in probably a month of not mentioning that horrific name. But instead, like a bozo that I am, I give you a text 2 days ago. Hey, want to be a guest? Thinking we're going to talk everything NFL. Next thing you know, you dance on over, give me a call, and bring up that name. What is this, an episode of Harry Potter where you say he must not be named or whatever? What's going on over there?
Koeneke, I hate to tell you, but I'm a busy man. I can't listen to every show, so I didn't see if you were using his name or not, buddy. I apologize.
I mean, I was just so close. I mean, it's 5:48 here on KSSU.com, and I was so close. I mean, I needed like 20 more minutes, and I would have got through it, but you ruined it. So let's try to finish this. Oh, God. We're talking with Nika, and she's a good friend of mine back in San Diego, talking a little NFL, and we'll get to the World Series shortly. Raiders, right? Yesterday.
Oh, God.
Well, hold on. Yesterday, you got Cooper. He's gone. Reports saying Gruden and McKenzie are saying nobody's safe. Reports today that maybe Carr has lost the locker room. Maybe he's lost his leadership. What do you think? Like, what's going on over in Oakland?
Oh, I'll tell you what, Koeneke. As a guy who has not missed a Raiders game in I don't know how many years, as a guy who has only seen one winning season in however many years I've been watching, I think this is the worst Raiders team I've seen ever.
Stop it.
And that includes over
Stop it. Stop it right now. Stop.
And that includes over the 2006 Art Shell, Tom Walsh, bed and breakfast offensive days with Aaron Brooks and Marquise Tussisiapo at quarterback. This team is so bad, I don't even know where to begin. And the problem is, I usually have tempered expectations for the Raiders because it's like an abusive relationship as a fan.
Sure.
But once they got Gruden, I got my hopes up. You know that. I got my hopes up tremendously. Mm-hmm. And it looks like we honestly might go 1-15 this year. And I'm really losing all hope to being anywhere close to being competitive until we move to Vegas in 2020. And even then, I don't know. That might be too soon for us to be competitive. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I do like the Cooper trade. I'll tell you that much. I love the Cooper trade.
Just an update from Boston. Kemp just homered. It is a 2-1 ball game as that game is into the second. We're talking with Nick Unge. Back to the Raiders. What do you make of the Carr kind of reports today? Big news, little news. PTI always hold on. PTI always likes to have a segment where it's like, is this big news? Is this little news? Is this going to have a big impact, little impact? What do you think?
I think it's little news. They had these reports last year after the Washington Redskins game about him losing the locker room. I think if anyone lost the locker room, it's Gruden after the Khalil Mack trade. I don't think Derek Carr's lost the locker room as in terms of a leader, but I think fans and teammates are starting to question if he's the Derek Carr of old. Mm-hmm. Because if you take away his 2016 season where he was an MVP candidate before he got hurt on Christmas Eve versus the Colts and ruined my Christmas, if you take Vic Minch came away and stole my Christmas from me. If you take that season away, he's really, he's just like another guy. He's just black. Okay. So, I don't know. I think people are starting to question his talent. I saw media heads are saying he can even be traded within, this trading deadline. So, we'll see what will happen. I think at the max they're going to give him one more year after this one, and after that I think they could buy out his contract for only like $7 million dead money. So he might be out here short if he doesn't start producing. So we'll see.
Real quick, staying with the Raiders, give me maybe an over/under for the rest of the year.
Wins?
Yeah.
Oh God! We're in our pick'em pool this league, and I don't even think I can take them over the Colts at home.
I was gonna ask you that, and I'm like, it's too early. You always you have this saying where you go, it's too early for this. So I was like, all right, it's too early in the week for this to ask him. And I was gonna ask you later in the week, what do you think? Raiders, Indy, they're at home, but over/under for the rest of the year. What's the record?
Oh God! I'll give them one more win, 2-14.
No way, that bad? That's
Koeneke, you don't watch them, man. Trust me, I don't miss a snap. They're really bad. They're a JV NFL team. I think Alabama can beat them this year. They're really bad, man. It's a mess over there.
553 here on KSSU.com.
I think they'll lose this week, and I think they'll beat Frisco next week.
Okay.
Because for some reason, the Battle of the Bay, I don't know. We always play Frisco well. I think that'll be our second win, and I think that's it. I think it's 2-14.
We're talking with Nick Unge here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. Last question for you. Got a World Series? Any opinions? Maybe how it plays out. Kershaw looks like he doesn't have it right now in Game 1. That might be a tone setter for the rest of the series. Give me a little of what you're thinking in the World Series right now.
Well, I think Kemp just hit a solo home run, so it's 2-1. But I'm going Dodgers in 7.
Okay. And why?
And why? Because I don't know, something about this year. Last year they came really close. Something about this year, the bullpen is pitching really well. They're getting clutch hits from Turner and Puig. And I think the main reason is after you after you face Sale, 2, maybe 3 times, I don't think their frontline pitching is that good. Price is nowhere near what he used to be, and Porcello's an average 3. Mm-hmm. So I don't think their starters are that good. I think that's probably the main reason. So I think Dodgers in 7. That is if Kershaw doesn't blow it in Game 7 like he did last year in Houston, Game 5.
Anytime I hear you tweet or talk about Kershaw, it makes me laugh because the guy's so good in the regular season, but you're like the one guy who's, saying, he just doesn't have it. The Phillip Rivers kind of, doesn't play up to
factor. He just doesn't have the it factor.
Yeah. Now, does Carr have the it factor?
Yeah, God, I don't think so. And he doesn't even have the regular seasons like Kershaw. So I don't know what he is anymore. I'm rooting for him, but I don't know. We'll see.
Let's cut it off right there. That's Nick Unge talking a little NFL. Nick, I look forward to having you on plenty of times towards the end of the football season, and then we'll talk a little NBA as baseball finishes up here in the Fall Classic. So thanks for the time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Have a good night.
All right, you too. That's Nick Unge. 5:55 here on KSSU.com. Before we hit a break and talk a little bit more about the World Series with a friend of mine, a former coworker of mine, he's going to come on the show at 6 o'clock. Let's go to my newest favorite segment. Stop it right now. My newest favorite segment. All right. So this is where I'm going to bring up some NBA talk. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the Sacramento Kings. And as they are 1-2 and they're in Denver tonight, taking on the Nuggets. Tomorrow night, they're back here in Sacramento taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. I will be at that game. But stop it right now this week has to do with the Kings. Has to do with the specific player. Does somebody want to explain to me why Willie Cauley-Stein still gets minutes on this team and in this league? I know the Kings aren't a great team. They need a veteran presence. But does somebody out there want to explain why Willie Cauley-Stein still gets minutes? Yes, he gives you 18, right now he's averaging 18, 7, and 2. That's probably going to go down to what? 15, 5, and 2? So he's giving you minutes, he's giving you whatever. 15, 7, or 15, 5, and 2. That's not awful numbers, but it's not good. Every time I watch the Kings, this guy can't make a jump shot. So stop it right now saying that Willie Cauley-Stein deserves minutes and he's helping this team. He's not. I know the team doesn't really necessarily have a backup center, but just put in Bagley. Just get him in there. Get him minutes. Get a young guy minutes. Stein can't make a jump shot, first of all. And he can't make a free throw down the stretch. He's shooting like 55% from the field, or 55% from the free throw line. He gets hacked towards the end of the game when they need a free throw, and he can't make it. Listen, the Kings don't have a viable center behind him. So I get it. But it drives me up the wall on how this guy, people say he has a positive impact on this team. He doesn't. And that he's important. The guy can't make a free throw or a jump shot to finish games. He completely goes invisible in the fourth quarter. He's been a major disappointment since he's gone in the league. Yes, he can play, get minutes. Listen, I get it, people. But he can't finish games. And I think the Kings need, because they're such a young team and they have such young players and they're rebuilding, they need players who can show these young guys how to win. Cauley-Stein doesn't do that because he just doesn't put up numbers and he can't make it count when it matters. So please, stop it right now with saying, he's, Kings fans out there. Stop being like, he's a good player. He's fine. Average player. No, he's not. He's not. Said this last year. They should have got rid of him. Found somebody else. I don't know. I can make jump shots at a more efficient rate than he can. I can make free throws at a more efficient rate than he can. Just sick of it. So please, stop it right now. 5:59 here on KSSU.com. I'm Nick Koeneke Follow my Twitter at the Koeneke Hour. Also follow my podcast at the Keep Calm and Stay Offended podcast. We're going to hit a break. Right after this, we're going to talk a little World Series as we end today's show as the Red Sox have a 2-1 lead over the Dodgers. You're listening to the Koeneke Hour here on KSSU.com. Red Sox have a 2-1 lead over the Dodgers in Game 1 of the World Series. That game is in the bottom of the second. Welcome back to the Koeneke Hour here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. I'm Nick Koeneke. Follow my Twitter at the Koeneke Hour. Also follow my podcast on YouTube at the Keep Calm and Stay Offended podcast. Let's stay in baseball. Let's stay in the World Series. I want to try to get home as soon as possible to catch the second half of Game 1 of the Fall Classic. But let's stay there. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Boston and what to expect in that series. Jeff Wilson joins me now here on the Koeneke Hour. You can follow his Twitter at _JTW6. He's been a friend of mine all the way back since my Mighty 1090 days in San Diego working for them. And he joins me now here on the Koeneke Hour. What's up, Jeff?
How's it going, Nick?
Good. How you doing?
Not too well right now. I'll be doing better once the Dodgers take the lead.
Well, they are down 2-1. Kemp was able to homer, I believe, back in that last half inning as they cut the lead in half. Let's talk about the World Series, Jeff. I'm bringing you on. You're a Dodgers fan. Wanted kind of your insight of what to expect between the Dodgers and Red Sox. They've actually never played in a World Series ever with their respective names right now. I believe Boston had a different name when they played each other, and then I think the Dodgers were in Brooklyn at the time. But, Jeff, I wanted to ask you, kind of give me a preview of what to expect in this World Series. How do you think it's going to play out? Maybe some X factors or things to look out for during this series, maybe how long it goes. What's a preview? Give my listeners a preview of what's going to happen in the World Series.
These two blockbuster teams, first time going at it. It's going to be a good one. I think it's going to go all 7 games. No, I don't think there's going to be any blowouts, and it's just like it's going to come down to pitching. Hitting is going to be very important, but I'm looking forward to the series as much as you are.
Yeah, you mentioned pitching, but what about hitting? Both these teams have some young all-star caliber players. You know, Mookie Betts on one side, you got Bellinger on the other, you got Puig on the other. A lot of speed, a lot of good defense. Why do you think pitching is going to be so key? Because a lot of people think, offense, maybe these games are going to be 8-6, 9-8. Why do you think pitching is going to be so key with these two teams?
It's just going to be huge because the Boston Red Sox this postseason haven't put up the best postseason for pitching numbers. Mm-hmm. Dodgers clearly leading the NL in pitching for the past couple of years. It's going to be a lot of 5-4, 2-1 games, and that's what everybody wants, and that's what I want, and it's going to be good.
So the Dodgers, they're currently down 2-1. If the Dodgers win this series, what do you think's going to be the key? Like, who has to perform, or what's going to have to happen for the Dodgers to beat the Red Sox? You said it's going to go in 7, so they're going to win 4 of the 7. How do they win 4 of the 7?
I think the best way the Dodgers can win 4 of the games is to get the starting pitchers out of there as soon as possible. So Chris Sale has already thrown a lot of pitches this game, and I'm really happy about that. The key performers this game are definitely going to have to be Manny Machado and Brian Dozier. Mm-hmm. Manny Machado has lifetime stats against Chris Sale of an average of .375.
Okay.
And hit 1 home run off him, and then Brian Dozier leading off today has hit a couple doubles against him, a couple home runs. Those are going to be some key factors to get Chris Sale out of the game.
So get the starters out early, within the first couple of innings, or do you just want them not going 5 and getting in line for the win? What do you think?
Chris Sale or any pitcher on the Red Sox just needs to throw a lot of pitches and then get runs as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. So if the Dodgers don't win, the Red Sox win. Why are the Red Sox going to win this series? If they do, or why are they going to win the 4 games? What's the key for the Red Sox if they're going to beat the Dodgers?
I mean, they showed that in the first inning. They scored 2 off Kershaw. The bats, first pitch swinging for the Red Sox have been huge throughout the postseason, and the bats are going to have to be huge.
Mm-hmm. All right, a very straightforward question next as we head into the second part of this interview. Who's going to have a bigger impact? So you talked about starting pitching is going to be key. The Red Sox got to score first, but a very direct question. Who's going to have a bigger impact in this series? Is it the Dodgers' young hitters and Puig, Bellinger, who else? Well, Kemp's not really young, but those young hitters or maybe the Red Sox strong bullpen. Who has a bigger impact and why?
And this is me being unbiased. I think the Dodgers' young hitter is going to have a huge impact because the Sox's strong bullpen did show in the ALCS and the ALDS, but I don't think they've put up good numbers in the Dodgers in the past.
If who's got to be good? Because the Red Sox have a lot of left-handers. So does that mean Bellinger is going to kind of take a seat and Puig's got to play better, get on base with that speed, that excitement? Like I think Yasiel Puig is a big key in the series if they're going to not lose 2 World Series in a row. Who do you think has to have like the best series for them to win? Kind of their X factor, or maybe the MVP. Who's got to play really well for them to win?
As you said, Puig, he is the heartbeat of the Dodgers roster. He's always getting everybody fired up on the base pass. He's always doing crazy stuff. He's making everybody laugh. He just keeps the whole environment loose for the Dodgers. I think he does play a key role in that Dodgers lineup. Also, Manny Machado with that big bat of his.
Don't you think Manny Machado's a little bit of a dirty player? What do you think of that?
There's been some talks of a dirty player, and I can't deny that. Yeah, he's had his share of cleat spikes and throwing at pitches, and so is Puig. But Manny Machado loves that hostile environment. I think he thrives off it.
But do you think that's good for the Dodgers? Do you think they signed, traded for him. Do you think that benefits them in any way?
It should, yeah. If that makes Manny Machado play harder, and if he scores and runs, he produces, I think it's going to be a great producer for the Dodgers.
All right, that game is still 2-1 in as the second inning has come to a close as we head towards the top of the third. Red Sox 2, LA Dodgers 1. Last question for you, Jeff, before I leave so I can go catch the rest of the game. If the Dodgers come back tonight, what are they going to have to do? Looks like Kershaw doesn't really have it right now. He's given up 2 runs early. Kemp homered, but obviously they got to score more runs. But is there something you're looking at to where they're going to have to do something to win Game 1 and steal a game in Boston?
Quiet the Boston bats down, definitely. The bullpen has to play a huge part. They did in the NLCS and the NLDS. If a starting pitcher didn't do well, like Kershaw in the NLCS, they kind of like quiet the Brewers bats a little bit, and I think they can do the same thing with Boston. It's very easy to quiet these bats down.
Well, that's Game 1 of the World Series between the Red Sox and Dodgers. That's Jeff Wilson. Hey, Jeff, appreciate the time. I look forward to talking to you more, and maybe we'll play some more Fortnite like we did the other night.
Absolutely. You take care.
All right, thanks, buddy. That's Jeff Wilson here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. Wanted that to be a real quick preview because I got to get out of here. Like I said, not a full 2-hour program. The show is never a 2-hour program if you're familiar with it. But a very short time to get a bunch of content and a bunch of info into a period of an interval of time. So anyways, it's 6:10 here on KSSU.com, the student-run radio station of Sacramento State. I'm Nick Koeneke. As we head towards the end of the show, I just want to thank everybody from down south, from back east to up here in Sacramento. Thanks for tuning into the program. Thanks to my family and friends. And thanks to you, the listener, if you're tuning in and new to the program. I'm Nick Koeneke. Catch the Koeneke Hour every Tuesdays from 5 to 7 here on KSSU.com. Also catch me on KSSU Sports Broadcast, where I broadcast Sac State football, men's and women's basketball, and softball in the spring. Follow my Twitter at the Koeneke Hour to keep up with everything that goes on with the show and myself. Also follow my podcast on YouTube at the Keep Calm and Stay Offended podcast. Once again, thanks everybody for tuning into the program. I'll be back next Tuesday to talk everything in the sports world. I'm Nick Koeneke. I'll catch you guys next week.